Chapter 6. Just as Little Ponies corrupted officials. Archduke Fisher took a long, slow breath before he permitted himself to look back up at Captain Armor. "Yes, sir," he said. "An attack on the train station." Guards heard explosions and crashes coming from freight tunnels. Armor spoke with military precision, enunciating each syllable carefully. When they arrived at the main freight track, they found it had been heavily damaged by blasts from some kind of explosive spell. A train engine and a crane were also destroyed. It'll take a few days to get everything fixed up. Fisher looked out through his office window at the city of Canterlot. Down below, distantly, he could see the guards and civil police scurrying around on their patrols, passing between the innumerable other ponies who lived and worked and played in the city. Amongst these other ponies were 2 mafiosos and 1 sun cultist, 3 incredibly dangerous individuals who could annihilate large portions of the city if they so chose. And he, Archduke Fisher, the Minister of War, the pony responsible for protecting all Equestria from any sort of armed attack, had no idea where they were. "We don't think the culprits escaped via train. The rails were also damaged that no freight trains can enter or leave until they are repaired. As such, they're likely still in the city." Armor paused. "What would you recommend, sir?" "This is absurd," the Archduke muttered. "Sir?" "The guards have been patrolling all morning. They raided a dozen suspected mafia hideout locations. They pulled in something like 30 potential informants, and we have nothing!" Fisher slammed a hoof against the window. "We have failed so far, and those criminals just blew up Catalan Station." Armor hesitated. "Sir, we have recaptured 9 of the 12 escapees. Not all of them. The mafiosos and that insane cult of Soleil are the important ones. We have failed to make any progress in finding them whatsoever." Fisher's eyes narrowed. "Was any pony killed in the train station attack?" "Not as far as we can tell. Some ponies were slightly injured. It seems they tried to stop the escapee, but are all expected to recover. Those we found include Duke Greengrass, Dame Shirley, Wait, the elements, haven't they?" Armor paused. Yes. 3 of the elements were down there." Fisher slowly turned to stare at him. "The Mafia just attempted to kill the elements of harmony. Is that what you're telling me?" Armor was silent for a moment. When he spoke, it was a slightly strange voice. "Assuming the Mafia was behind that attack, yes. The elements almost killed. And on our watch!" Fisher pounded a hoof on his desk. "The elements, Armor! One of our defense against Corona. If the Mafia escapees had succeeded, we would have nothing enough to stop the tyrant son from entering Catalan and burning the city to the ground." Looked around the room, then levitated his armor. Black and silver gear, developed by Fisher Armor, and also developed by Fisher Price. Layered with so many enchantments that it was nearly impossible to destroy without a cannon up off the wall. His warhammer floated out of his case to his side. "No, I refuse to allow that to happen. We're redoubling our efforts. I will personally lead the search, and we will find those criminals, those terrorists, if we have to tear the city apart to do so." "Sir, we've raided every location the Shadow Bolt on this case gave us. The Shadow Bolts are useless. None of the locations they gave us led to either the Lucas or Soleil. We are done with them." Fisher shook his head. "And we have no more time for niceties. If the elements die, Equestria dies. And the Mafia has brought us to that point. They have only themselves to blame." He was silent for a moment. "I'm declaring martial law." Armor's mouth dropped. "Sir, I protest. I have no choice," roared Fisher. "The elements must be protected at all costs, which means the attackers must be stopped as soon as possible." He turned back to the window. "The police will be drafted into the guard, and every available unit will go to areas with concentrations of Mafia ponies and search house by house until they find them. I will need my personal security team to find Soleil. My bodyguard, Rogue, has been searching the city recently and telegraphed me that we have a tip. Any questions?" "Sir, we can't do that. We'll be leaving the city open to any other criminal." "No criminal in the city is as important as these, Captain. They just tried to destroy Equestria's only defense against the tyrant's son. We can hold off on chasing Banksy or Flanksy or whatever idiot of the day graffiti artist's name until later." Armor frowned. "Sir, that isn't all we do. If there's a mugging, a death, or a brawl, Captain Alma, I must say this once. We evidently cannot protect everything at the same time. That should be clear enough, given what almost happened. We have to choose what is more important. Now to me, it seems self-evident that keeping alive the only ponies who can protect us from a psychopathic alicorn who wants to incinerate us all over a land of fire and ash is more important than chasing the confidential criminals. The Archduke paused for a moment. Though he was looking at armor, what he was seeing was a burning nation. Burning because the elements had died and the tyrant was free to ravage the land. He saw the cities of Canterlot, Moskolt, and Stalingrad going up in flames that could no longer be quenched. He saw the ravaged survivors hauled away in chains to be slaves of the mad sun gods forevermore. Thus the alternative, he thought. Thus what would happen if I refused to do what must be done. I cannot be squeamish now. What gets me is that there are actually people in the Ruby fandom who'll think that he's right in doing this. That this oppressive, militaristic dictatorship he's pulling out is perfectly justified. That's what gets me. Arma's voice brought him back to the present. Sir, I feel I must inform you that I don't believe our current situation merits or legally permits you to declare martial law. Princess Luna would not approve. She is not here. When she returns, you may protest my actions however you like. In the meantime, I will do what must be done. Specifically, I am ordering you, as Minister of War, to devote every resource you have towards finding the Lucas. Every resource. Viscount Sackles, whose police forces are under my command for the race of martial law, will receive identical instructions. Now, as for the other orders, you're to shut down the train station. What? And all other forms of transportation out of the city. We will not permit the Lucas to escape. Furthermore, use any illegal means you can to keep the ponies in their homes and out of the streets. I don't want the Lucas escaping into crowds. I want them stuck in one location, which we will sniff out. Finally, given the circumstances, you are to cast your special protective shield over the castle as soon as I leave. Those terrorists are willing to attack nice. They may well be willing to attack our seat of government. I don't think I need to tell you how devastating a bomb in, say, Viceroy Night-Night's quarters would be. Fisher gave a sharp nod. Are we clear? Armor paused. We're clear. But sir, aren't you worried that the princess will think you've gone too far? Fisher gave Armor a credulous look. Worried? Captain, do you consider yourself a brave pony? What? Answer me. I suppose. Why? Because you're willing to risk your life fighting for the nation? Then, should I do any less? Fisher turned towards the window. The House of Fisher has defended Equestria since before Celestia's insanity. We are ready to bear any risk, any hardship, in order to do what must be done to protect us all. You would give your life for Equestria? So would I, and I would gladly spend it exiled from the court, or even incarcerated, if that was the price it took to save us all. If I knew that Nuna, for whatever reason, would order me stripped of my title and jailed for the rest of my life, should I give these orders, I would give them anyway, for the greater good. He shrugged. But I do not think Luna will be offended. The Minister of War may legally declare martial law. In a military invasion, in an emergency, this is an emergency as far as I'm concerned, said Fisher. I am doing what must be done, Captain. You may protest however you like, to whomever you like, when the Lucas are in custody. But for now, find them. He paused and said, Incidentally, about the elements, it seems to me that they are unsafe on the streets. In protected custody, you still do not have the legal power to detain Knights of the Realm, sir, even under martial law. I will not order my guards to do so, and I will have my guards fight your factory security if they try! Fisher raised a hoof in placating manner. I only meant to suggest we raise the issue at the next court session for situations like these. You have my assurance that I will not break the law here, Captain Armor. He paused. I can't hold them, but I don't want them anywhere near these insane prisoners. But don't try to use them in an investigation. They are too valuable to risk. I don't want them tagging along on raids or leading guard units anywhere. Understand? You know, I don't think Grass and Clouds intended this, but this sounds very much like an argument of a person who actually respects the main six and cares about them as characters and knows how badass they are, versus one of those whiny losers who think that, oh, they aren't real heroes. They need to be held and protected and hidden and kept safe. They shouldn't be in the battles. They should be me. Because tough women scare me. When Armor was gone, Fisher returned to his desk. He felt weary, but not because he had been out for 24 consecutive hours by this point. He was weary of having to deal with the fools and morons that seemed to infest every nook and cranny of government. They prattled on about trivialities while the nation slipped towards war, towards a future of fire and flame. And while he stood in the breach, they kept asking him to stand aside, take it easy, let things pass. When, if it wasn't for him, they would have all died long ago. It wasn't even the corrupt ones that bothered him anymore. Those like Greengrass and Blue Blood would sacrifice national interests for their own pocketbooks and power plays. They were a strain in the court, and Fisher would happily throw them to the Canterhorn. But that, at least, was something he could understand. It was ponies like Wallflower, Posy, and Max who claimed to be incorruptible and selfless servants, yet would sacrifice national interests to their own consequences, morals, and the law. That Fisher was really starting to hate. If that was necessary for the nation, required to sacrifice of a single common pony's interests, or the violation of a single statute, they wouldn't do it. Though the whole nation suffered the agonies of Tartarus 5 minutes later. Ponies like Greengrass could at least be bribed or threatened. But nothing could convince some pony like Max that he ought to take some action which he thought was immoral or illegal, even if it obviously would result in a better outcome for the nation as a whole. He and his kind would sacrifice the world for a feeling of purity, Fisher supposed. Purity and nothing more. We can't protect everything. We can't save it all. A noble must be able to determine what matters more and what matters less, and ruthlessly protect the former above the latter. Fisher thought back to the lessons that his father, Boris Valinsky Fisher, had taught him at a young age. If you're not prepared to sacrifice your own personal interests to serve the public interests of the nation, you're not fit to rule. If you're not prepared to sacrifice what your subjects want for what they need, you're not fit to rule. If you're not prepared to sacrifice the interests of a smaller group for a larger group, you're not fit to rule. But no pony else understood. They didn't have the sense to understand. Even Shiny Armor had shown up that early morning and had begun talking about some inane theory of Baron Max. There was some kind of abduction ring in the city. Fisher found the whole thing both impossible. How could one group possibly locate 20-odd petty criminals, some who've been out of the game for a year, capture them all without any pony noticing? Max was obviously deluding himself and thinking he had a chance to be a hero again, and far less important than recapturing the escapees they desperately needed to find. He thought he made himself clear to Armor. They were not to chase ghosts. They were to find the dangerous and escaped prisoners and subdue them. Now there was fresh proof of their danger. A bombed-out freight line. Yet Armor will still want him to sacrifice what was important for things that were less so. Yes, thought Fisher as he picked up his enchanted warhammer. Priorities, that's all. Did he want ponies to be mugged, robbed, stuck in their homes? No, of course not. He hated that he couldn't help it. But finding monsters who were willing to attack the elements of harmony was far more important than any of that. He would do his duty. Find the criminals as soon as he could, save the elements, then restore Canterlot to normal as soon as possible. He would not allow himself to be distracted by trivialities. And he would attest to every act he had taken to Luna with pride. Carrot carefully put a cloth over Max's head. There you go, she said. How does that feel? Wow. Max let out a long sigh of relief as his bruises started to fade. That's amazing, Carrot Top. What's in that poultice? Oh, just a few things I always carry with me. The mayor smiled and turned back to her saddlebag. You'd be surprised what scrapes we get into. They were resting in a small office, just off the train station's concourse, was now flooded with guards in full battle dress, running every which way. Some pony was alternately belling orders to guards and pleas for calm to the civilians. Carrot Top wanted to help, but the guards who had found him in the freight area and had taken him upstairs had asked him to wait for further instructions. So instead, he remained in the office and misinterested into her wounded friends at Greengrass. All in all, she thought, we came out of it okay. Max seemed to be the most hurt, with bruises on his barrel and head where he'd been kicked by the enemy. But even he wasn't badly injured. Worst of it was the charge to his coat after being zapped by the crane operator, but that was mostly cosmetic. He needed a haircut, not medical attention. Raindrops of Greengrass were also a bit ruffled from being hit by energy blasts of the crane operator. It generally has the cuts where the motor blasting pony had body slammed her on the rail, but all of them were basically fine. Twilight was physically okay, although somewhat shaken. Greengrass had wrapped her in a thick tarp for warmth before the guards had reached the freight line. She hadn't taken it off yet. And Snails, thanks to Max's timely arrival, was perfectly fine. Carrot Top knelt by Max and applied another poultice to the bruises on his barrel. As a noble sign of relief, Carrot Top said, I'm going to bow this up charity now, but if anything starts hitting again, just holler, okay? Got it, Max sighed. You're a good hero, Carrot Top. Thanks. Thanks for not mentioning how I got 2 glasses of wine in front of you the last time we met. Don't mention it. Across the office, Niels was laying down, playing with a few marbles he found on the desk in the office. Raindrops walked over and sat by him. Feeling alright? Snails died. Carrot Top gave me a leaf to chew, and now my horn doesn't hurt anymore. He paused. But I swallow it. Will the pain come back? If it does, I'm sure Carrot Top can spare another leaf. Raindrops grinned. Sorry you got hurt at all, It's okay. I just wanted to see you be really awesome. Snail smiled a moment, then lost it. I mean, you're always awesome. Raindrops had a thought. Sure, I was pretty awesome, wasn't I? But I'm sure you saw I wasn't the very best fighter down there. Miss Cheerly was going to hoof with the big guy. But you fought the other stallion, said Snails. You and Mr. Greengrass, and you were all flying around, dodging those big trains and flying under lightning bolts and doing all kinds of awesome stuff. He waved his hooves in the air as he spoke. You were so amazing and cool and heroic and everything. If you weren't there, Miss Cheerly would have been squashed by the train until she was half an inch thick. Okay then, said Raindrops. I'll take your word for it. You're really good at protecting ponies like me. Really, really good. Snails held out his hooves to demonstrate how good Raindrops was. You're amazing. I want to be that good at something so I could be a good brother, and I'm not. Snails, every pony is good in their own way. But I don't want to be like every pony. You're the best sister ever, and I want to be the best brother ever. Not good like every pony else. I want to be good enough that I've earned the right to be your brother. I'm not good at anything as you are all kinds of things, then. He paused. Why do you keep me around? Because I love you, and I still think you're a good brother. Raindrops embraced Snails. You said earlier you trust my judgment in Miss Cheerly's. Can you trust me you're a good brother? Snails tried to look down at his hooves. Raindrops touched Snails and said nothing for a moment. Snails eventually said, I love you. I don't like feeling this sad, and I know you're annoying you. You're not annoying me. It's been a rough day for all of us. Raindrops wrapped her wings around Snails. But do you trust me, Miss Cheerly? She put Snails in the head and listened to a giggle. Uh-huh. So here's what we'll do. When we get back to Ponyville, we'll go out to your room, and I'll tell you everything about you that makes you special. Everything that's not like the other foals, that makes you a wonderful pony that I wouldn't trade even if Princess Luna offered to craft me a new brother from a star. From your memory to your magic, she placed Snails' horn and he laughed. To everything else, okay? Snails nodded. That sounds good. He smiled. I don't understand it now, but I'll know when you explain it to me, because you're awesome. You got that right. You're awesome too. Raindrops hugged Snails. As he saw the foal was still smiling, thus showing more happiness than he had since running off to the Insectarium. She wanted to go play with Snails right at that moment, to abandon their whole stupid quest to save criminal scumbags like Greengrass and Arcour, take Snails back to their home at Ponyville in the most comfortable train carriage they had, do whatever it took to make her brother happy. She knew she couldn't, as they had to get debriefed, but she ached at a desire nonetheless. Now stay 1 minute longer in the scene I have to. Forget what Cheerly and the others say. Should have been distracted before. Snails is my brother. He's more important than donkey spawn like green grass. Hi. No offense. The minute we talk to the guards and tell them what we know, I'm gone. So, Raindrops turned to green grass, standing up and stretching. Are we recovered enough to figure out what we're going to do next? We're staying and getting debriefed, said Max from the ground. That might work for 6 of us, but one isn't supposed to be here. Raindrops followed Greengrass's gaze to Twilight, who just put her purple head out from under the tarp. Wait, this way put her under the top. She's still in shock. He's trying to hide her from the authorities. You mean because he's supposed to be under house arrest? Asked Carrot Top. Oh, that's okay, said Twilight. He seemed happy to have a problem she could actually solve. As opposed to being attacked by a unicorn the size of a carrot, or having a magic blocking ring stuck on her horn. The Ministry of Corrections gave me a pass to go home and see my parents. Who told you about it? Asked Greengrass. I got a letter about it, and today Agent Sneak Attack arrived and said he would escort me home. Just to clarify, this is the same agent that led you down to the freight tunnels, abandoned you, and put a defective magic ring on your horn that can't be removed, thereby leaving you alone and incapable of defense. He's probably the agent who told everybody to stay out of the freight tunnels today. I knew it didn't make any sense to keep out the Mafia, but their goal was to keep Twilight in. Twilight's mouth dropped. What are you saying? Miss Sparkle, I'm afraid that agent was almost certainly not a real Shadowbolt, said Greengrass. He was likely collaborating with those ponies who attacked us down below. He led you down there so you could be captured. Why? I have no idea, but... Wait, not real? But my pass to visit my family is real, right? Twilight let the Greengrass let her muscles almost touch. Right? If it were, you would be expected, and your disappearance would raise questions. I cannot imagine it is. But that means I violated my house arrest? Twilight turned in a slow circle, looking at all of them. But that's not fair! I did everything I was supposed to. I stayed inside the library at all times except when I was with Trixie. I put up a magical ward so I couldn't even fall asleep or roll out the window or something. I did everything! She broke off. I sent my family letters. When Angler was going to go home, I wrote them. They said, no, I'll be here. In fact, they wrote me back. This proves they got my mail. Unless somebody stopped the mail, said Greengrass. It's not easy to break into the central post office and remove letters you don't want to reach their destinations, but it's certainly doable. Given Captain Harmer's absence from the scene, unthinkable if he really did know you were coming on a train that arrived a few minutes before the train was attacked, I say it's probable. As for any letters you may have received, they were likely forged. The unicorn glanced. That's not fair, she repeated. I did everything right and... Twilight, easy, Shirley smiled beautifully and pat Twilight in the back. No point seeing you yet. We'll get you home, and no point will be to rise her. Wait. Nice struggled up a safe position. There's protocol on this. I had to memorize this for the security ministry I'm on. You're on the security ministry? Asked Shirley. Aren't you a little inexperienced? Max blushed. I'm not quite sure you say why I'm on the ministry, but I'm on it. And according to protocol, he set his eyes for a moment as if memory. If someone under house arrest finds herself, though not upon it alone, to violate terms of arrest, she must go to the nearest officer of the law and describe what happened. So you'll be detained, and a hearing will be immediately scheduled. Well, said Shirley, Twilight's a victim here. She doesn't deserve to be incarcerated while we wait for a hearing. Especially since that hearing likely won't take place until after the escapees are captured and the series settles back down, which could take days or even weeks. She shook her head. Twilight, Trixie taught you an invisibility spell, right? Twilight nodded. Okay, we'll get you aboard a train back to Ponyville as soon as possible. That's to satisfy every pony. That's against the law, said Max. So we have to follow the law. The Baron nodded his head slowly. I'm a noble of the court, and you're knights of the realm. We're supposed to serve Princess Luna. And after the gala last summer, she made it very clear she does not approve of us deciding for ourselves when we could break the laws, even if we have good reasons. That's how the government becomes corrupt. It leads to the common pony suffering. Twilight, I sympathize with your position. Clearly you don't, said Shirley, or you would be trying to jail her. No, it'll be days before she can even have the chance to show a judge she's done absolutely nothing wrong. She turned her back on, then called over her shoulder. Do you have any reasons why she should turn herself in, Baron? Besides, at some point 200 years ago, wrote a law without foreseeing this exact situation. Max frowned, but answered in a level, solid voice. Sir, 1. Some pony just tried to abduct or maybe kill Twilight. She needs to be under armed guard, not going home on a train that's not defended by any pony. She might not even make it home. 2. She saw the big pony attack her. She needs to tell the guards about him. Maybe she could give them a clue. And 3. I'm sorry, Twilight, but I don't know you. You don't seem to have any proof you were tricked here. For all I know, this agent was some pony you were going on a date with. I can't let you go back based on your word. He paused. What about you, Shirley? Do you have a reason why we should break the law right now? Because we know Twilight. We know she would never violate her house arrest. So the laws shouldn't apply to ponies lucky enough to be your friend. Matt scowled. Another pony in this situation would have to turn herself in, but not her neighbor. How's that just? Said Twilight. Shirley, I got fooled. It's on me. I'm willing to go to the guards. But she was cringing beneath her cloak, and obviously not thrilled about that prospect. I mean, I wish it didn't have to be for days while we waited for... No, said Shirley. This is absurd. The government failed us at every opportunity. The court was useless when we needed them. Now it's failing again, because it obviously is unjust for Twilight to have to suffer more just because she was fooled by the criminals the government has thus far failed to stop. Maybe we had better luck stopping them if you had worked with me instead of running off like crazed vigilantes! June anger flashed in Meg's eyes. Shirley took a step backwards. I am getting tired of being kicked in the head every time some pony decides that their cause is so important that they don't need to alert the guards or the police or any authorities. He glared at Greengrass, though why Raindrops didn't know. Did Duke do something on his own that Max had to bail him out of? The weatherman wondered. Maybe that's why he lost his seat, then why? Her thought was cut off as Max continued. If you had waited for me, I could have gone down there with you. I might have been able to enlist some guards. We could have had to capture those ponies, and we definitely would have been better to protect snails. If we had waited, Twilight could have been killed. And me, said Greengrass. Yes, there might have also been some utilitarian benefits, but still! So he turned to Max. When the tyrant son wrecked our town with a zebra curse, the government left us to rot for days. I had to tell the folks in my class, my students, that the ponies I was supposed to shepherd through their use, that their government had decided that they deserved to suffer the remnants of a ruined, annihilated town. Her voice caught, but after a moment she went on. When the mob showed up to attack Dinky, when salamanders kidnapped Trixie, during every single disaster we've had, you and your guards and nobles have been useless. Why should we work with you? You don't deserve our trust. Snails was staring at the ponies wide. So were Greengrass and Twilight. Raindrops quickly moved over and enveloped Snails in a covering wing. I don't know what to say. Chili's right, the nobles are terrible, but Max did save Snails. Oh, you'd rather I stay out of it and let that little unicorn cult get kidnapped? I'd rather you all stop doing your jobs instead of... Hi! Every pony turned to stare at Carrot Top. Please don't yell, you're staring Scales. Carrot Top nodded at the fall, who was peeking out under Raindrops' wing. We all need to get it all. We just get attacked. We don't know by who or where to strike next. We need to find them. Can't we please stop fighting? But Carrot Top turned to him. Better Max, you're from Newpla, right? Your province wasn't represented in the Night Court until recently, so you didn't have much contact with the federal government. Sure. So the court's problems never affected you. You didn't have to deal with the Night Court denying your town funds or anything else for corrupt reasons. None of your ponies tried to make it in the court and failed because they didn't have any connections. Equestria's a great nation, but the government's done some bad things. We suffered from those things. She held her hoof. I know you want us to work with you and follow your laws. I know you trust them. But from what we see in the government in Nobles, we don't have any guarantee Twilight would be treated fairly, no matter what the law says. We don't want her to be treated unfairly. Max was silent for a moment. I understand the government has its problems, he said, and that you've been wronged with the court. I sympathize with your position. Carrot Top nodded. Okay, eternity, she turned to her. First of all, Max just got beat up helping Snails. Can you at least hear him out? Yeah, said Snails from under Raindrops' wing. Shirley smiled slightly. Of course. Max and the other nobles have resources we don't. If Max or the others can really get us a squadron of guards to help us search for the abducted ponies and protect us, they can help us. Even if they can't, they have access to government records, reports, informations. We don't have an obligation to try to make use of that for the victims, if nothing else. If we could trust them, but I don't think we can. For instance, I talked to that old nag Poussance at the gala. She's covering up studies showing her educational system doesn't do as well as she claims it does. She's not here, said Carrot Top. Max is. He helps save snails. He's been trying to track down the culprits here, just like us. He accepts that Max, at least, will try to do right by us. Began Shirley. Then, very well. You save snails at the cost of a being, Baron Max. I'll trust you, if not the rest of them. Good, Carrot Top smiled. Now, you have good knowledge of equestrian laws, right? Can you think of any legal way that we could avoid having Twilight turn herself in right now? What? Said Max. I don't want a loophole. I don't mean a loophole. Carrot Top shut her eyes. I admit I don't know much about the law. I'm just a cat farmer. I'm not as worthy as either of you. I haven't dealt with criminals like most of you. I'm not good at this kind of thing. For a moment she looked downcast. I'm just a simple man living simple dreams. Your dreams include being able to shoot lasers from your eyes, said Raindrops. Carrot Top blushed. Mostly simple dreams then. Anyways, I don't know much about the law, but I still believe that Equestria is a great nation. I believe that Princess Luna, who has guided it for millennia, cares enough about her little ponies to ensure Equestria's laws are not designed to hurt them. I believe that. If there's some situation in which following a law should result in a pony being harmed for no good reason, Luna and her good nobles would protect her from the law. She nodded. Certainly, is there any legal way we can avoid having Twilight being locked up, awaiting a hearing that will come for days or weeks, because the city is in chaos and mafiosos and abductors are running around, keeping the guards busy? Shirley thought for a moment. Yes, just before the Fourth Griffin War, there were concerns that the Griffin populace in Latigo were going to tax the resources of the police, and guards with nuisance issues, violating minor laws, then turning themselves in as was required, thus taking guards out of action for hours to handle paperwork. So they passed the law. Let me think. Her eyes rolled up slightly, as if looking to her mind to find the right book. In the event of a civic emergency, citizens who are legally obligated to turn themselves in for misdemeanor offenses or parole violations may instead wait for the conclusion of the emergency, at which point they must then turn themselves to the regional authority as they would have if there were no emergency, provided a member of the Revel Security Ministry approves. Garrett turned to Max. Oh, you said you're on that ministry, right? I am. Max paused, chewing his lip. But, look, if I do this, and Twilight doesn't turn herself within 5 minutes of the emergency ending, it's my neck. I'll be gone from the court in minutes. We're trusting you to be different from every other noble we've dealt with, said Carrot Top. Can't you trust us? Max looked around, as if seeing a mentor, then took a breath and turned back to Twilight. Well, the guards are all busy. There's no sign of the escaped prisoners. Ponies are missing from their homes. I'm pretty sure half the train station just got wrecked by criminals. It's an emergency, if I've ever seen one at Canterlot. He nodded. I'll allow it. Twilight, you can wait until the end of the emergency. What's defining is when the guards resume their normal schedule. That should be when the escapees and the ponies who did this are captured. Possibly sooner if we receive information that they left the city. That way, when you turn yourself in, which you will the moment the guards patrol turn normal, there will be guards who can set up a hearing right away. If you really are a victim here, you'll be processed and released as quickly as possible. Okay? Thank you. Twilight bowed. Thank you, Baron. Raindrops let out a breath he didn't know she was holding. Glad that's settled. Me too. Carrot Top rumbles through her saddlebag some more. Anybody want snacks? I'm famished. Shirley laughed, and gradually the mood returned to normal. So, Greengrass said, I'll ask the obvious question. Does anybody have any idea why some ponies apparently decided it would be fun or profitable to scoop Miss Sparkle and I into a little box? Did you turn in the members of the Mafia, namely ones that escaped earlier today, to the court? Asked Max. That's our current theory. No, I'm more the testified against and then the testifier type, said Greengrass. Shirley rolled her eyes at the Duke. We checked them on, Max. They don't seem to know where the abducted ponies were or their escaped bosses. They're in the dark as us. But if not them, who? Asked Raindrops. I mean, we know it's those ponies downstairs, but who are they working for? Why did they do it? Carrot Top shook her head. No idea. Raindrops turned back to Max. You know, given how you seem to keep winding up in scenarios like this, I imagine your investigative skills are, shall we say, finally honed by this point. I'm sure you have some idea. You do this often? Asked Raindrops. Just once before. In Green Meadow, Greengrass's father did most of the investigation. Max shook his head. But okay, I'll go over again. We found 3 ponies missing today. All criminals that either got away with it or cut some kind of deal with the government so they wouldn't go to jail for very long. In the missing pony reports, I found 20 more ponies that fit their profile. Criminals who basically got away with their crimes and then vanished in the past couple of days. 20? That's... gasped Carrot Top. More than we thought, Raindrops murmured. Max nodded. So, adding in the 3 we found, 23 missing total, plus attempts on Greengrass and Twilight. The only thing they have in common is they committed some serious crimes, but didn't spend much or any time in jail. Hey! Twilight frowned. I'm paying for what I did. I'm working at Ponyville, serving the community. I agree with you, but the pony who does try to smear us all over the freight track might not see it that way, said Max. Some pony who doesn't know anything about you or your case might think you got a good deal because of your father, and that they're unstable enough to be lobbing magic like that in an underground cave was code-collapsed on our heads. I'm guessing you're not stable enough to figure out why your punishment was just and fitting. Great, Twilight shrank down. I'm stuck far from where I'm legally allowed to be. I can't use magic because of the defective ring, and the same pony's trying to kill me. So he paused. I need something to distract me before I start panicking again. Charlie said, why don't you try to work out what's wrong with your ring? You're an incredible magical scholar. I'm sure you can figure it out. The ring sparked a bit, and Twilight's horn flickered. She tried to look up at it. Yeah, that might work. Thanks. She sat down, and as a few more sparks shot out from the ring, began to work on the problem. Max continued, so that's the abductions. We didn't have a jailbreak of 2 high-ranking Mafia bosses, the Lucas. Said the Mafia doesn't have any idea where they are, or what's going on with the abductions, but they can't be totally unrelated. It's too unlikely a coincidence, and it's not like the abductions serve any other real purpose. The Mafia performing them to help out their bosses is the only sensible explanation. Raindrops saw Charlie's face light up. Oh, she said. At the same time, Greengrass's eyes widened a little, as he had some insight. Raindrops frowned. My filling us in, you two? Greengrass spoke first. Well, he said in the tone of a teacher trying to provide a response from a student. Couldn't the abductors just be random vigilantes who are mad what they see as corruption in the government? I guess, but they had to know they couldn't get away with it. Even if they are as strong as the ponies we saw down below, without support and resources from some big group like the mob, the guards would be all over. He trailed off. Oh, I get it. What? Asked Carrot Top. The abductions weren't being performed to make the prison break easier. The prison break was done to shield the abductions. Max sprang to his feet, eyes bright. Think about it. We weren't able to get any help from the guards until the train station almost blew up, because they're pursuing the escapees. The abductors have run the city. Sounds about right, said Greengrass with a smile. Raindrops frowned. His smile looked oddly intense, as if he really cared that Max had a hypothesis. There's something going on between these two. I go one step further, said Charlie. One of the ponies that allegedly escaped were actually captured by the abductors. Then the guards would have no chance of finding them. They're looking for ponies on the run, not ponies on cages, so they remain distracted longer. Plus, said Duke Greengrass, it's quite possible those 2 bosses have also arranged some kind of deal. In which case, it's even a instance of the abductors performing another crime to match the real one. Only the same crime in a slightly different venue, with additional benefits. Also explain how the jailbreak just so happened to occur on the same day Princess Luna is out of town. Prisoners wouldn't know her schedule, but the abductors have a pony who can impersonate a Shadowbolt. They might be able to learn it. Exactly, said Max. It explains everything. There's silence for a moment. Then Snails clapped. Wow, you're all really smart. Greenglass laughed. It's good to be appreciated. So what do we do now? We tell the guards, the police, what we know. Then they can start chasing the real targets. And we continue our investigation, said Shirley. Raindrop said a little hoof, then paused. Well, she can if she wants. Me, I want to get Steele's home first. The guards can take everything from me here. Meanwhile, Max said, so you'll be working with the government forces? And the guards can actually help? Yes, said Shirley. Splendid, said Greengrass. I know a few. You aren't helping, said Raindrops. Every point turned to look at her. What? Asked Raindrops. Did anybody here seriously want him involved? He's a criminal. Send him home and let the real guards handle this. Well, given what they just did to me, I think you could trust I'm not some double agent, Raindrops, said Greengrass. Besides, they just tried to kill me. I now have an imminent interest in burying them all. Raindrops rolled her eyes. Is he galled to sound funny like that? I don't care. You're a selfish, entitled bastard who only cares about your own self-interest. If you had been walking past the freight train and see a random pony getting attacked, you would have left the home to help her. Raindrops, began Max. No, I'll trust you, Max, because you say snails, well, you couldn't have done safely hidden. I'll trust you to help the investigation and find those ponies, but this guy, he thrust a hoof down, he'll sit there and crack jokes, maybe prize sights and useful advice. Then, when the work is done, he'll use whatever you learn to blackmail, manipulate, destroy every pony involved. Because he doesn't give a damn about any identified ponies or any pony besides himself. He likes playing his games. That's why he wants to investigate, because he thinks it's a game. He's only still here instead of hiding at home because he wants to play. Elements, Greengrass, and Max versus the Abductors. And when we start winning too easily, he might even switch to the other team. So, no, he's not helping.